So we talked just a hair about the difference between protection stones and this more power stone thing. And my definition for things is a little more ancient, olden day definition. So I don't use the talisman terminology and stuff like that. But when you think of something like that, that is essentially what I am describing a power stone as. You've got this section, this unfortunately pretty large section of modern paganism over here off to the side, that believes that the only thing a power stone is something that they literally absorb all of the energy and bind it to themselves permanently, which is flat out evil and wrong. Any indigenous culture that I know of, including ancient paganism, including should be modern paganism, because this is a gigantic rule in paganism, if you don't follow this, you're not truly pagan, that just like trees and animals and anything in nature, really, a stone has a spirit. It has its own soul. So just like you and me, it has its own soul. And so anything with a soul is not an inanimate object. And everyone who does this unlawful binding magic with these stones pretty much knows that the stones have souls. They know that already, and they do not fucking care. I know I've said this already, but it's the best example. I know a lady that she said, well, as long as I recharge it once a month in the moonlight, it's fine. So she would drain all of its energy out to basically the stone was essentially dead, and then once a month she would recharge it in the moonlight. I understand that moonlight has healing properties, but is it alright to chop off a cat's limbs, wear its body around your neck for once a month, and then once a month sew the limbs back on so it can run around, and then the next day chop the limbs off again? Is that alright? Because that's basically essentially what you're doing. On a moral scale, that is essentially what you're doing. So I never refer to a power stone as that. In fact, if there is any binding at all, the binding is not something where you're stealing energy. No. The binding is more so emotional, attachment than anything else. And maybe a harmony there, where the stone guides you. It becomes a guide. It becomes a spirit guide, or it becomes a guardian, or it becomes some sort of teacher to you in some way. And these power stones, like I said, if you really want to use words like talismans and stuff, be my guest, but I stick with power stone. It doesn't have to be a stone, but most often than not, it usually ends up being a stone. And you're going to find it, if you're going to find one, you're only going to find one in your lifetime. At least that's what they say. That's how rare it is. And you may have to wait a long time to find it. But when you do finally find one, typically it's in a time where you need it most. Your magic is out of control, or you cannot unearth your magic at all and you need help finding your own strength and kind of revealing that hidden strength within you. Basically what a power stone is meant to do is it's meant to teach you and train you and reveal that hidden strength in you to the point where it brings out literally the most that you can possibly be and the most that you can possibly do. It brings out your full potential is what I'm trying to say. If you allow it to, that is what it's going to teach. And so to find one of these, you never know what it's going to be. The only thing you know for sure is that it's going to mirror you. It's going to be a kindred spirit to your own, a very, very specific, to the T, kindred spirit to your own. You could walk into a store and you could, maybe they have 1,000+ stones. And all those stones even could be, they could be potentially, they could all be quartz, clear quartz, for example. And only one of them, if it's there, if it's even there, only one of them, they all look the same, give or take, because nature is, you know, the beauty of nature is that it's not identical. But basically, you know, they're all the same thing. They're all clear quartz, right? And yet only one of them would be your power stone. Assuming that it's even there. It could be 1 in a million that you look over. For mine, I spent over a decade searching. And then when I finally found it, I knew sort of what was calling to me. I knew it was going to be at least something with probably tourmaline and hematite. And I just had this feeling, okay, it's going to be on the same thing. It's going to be one of those matrix things. So I was searching for a stone that had those two coupled into it. And I was also broadening up a little more options just in case, but that's what I kind of felt like it might be. And it was hidden. And so you look at the picture online and it's tourmaline, but it's just black tourmaline. And then you actually click on it. My spirit guardian said, don't look over this, don't skip this. This is important. I'm thinking, it's just another stone. It doesn't have the other piece to it. You know, why are you telling me to look at what I'm wasting my time? Well, guardians are rarely ever wrong. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're always right. So they told me to, but what I mean by guardians, I mean spirit guardians, spirit guides / guardians, whatever you want. The ones that stay from birth to death, those are the ones I'm talking about. They guide you your whole life. Anyway, I call them spirit guardians. So they were telling me, you really need to click on this. So I clicked on it. And I saw at the third picture that there was actually hematite on it. But you could not see that at all. In a listing main picture, and you couldn't see it at all in the second picture. It was only in the third picture. And you had to zoom in to see. And I thought, that's it. That is, and it was an energy that was pulling to me. I could feel it pulling. And then there was one right beside of it that also had hematite on it. But it rejected me. So it was just this one that said yes. And it wasn't just saying yes, it was like begging me to look at it. But what you find is that you have to know for sure, without a doubt, you have to know how to sense the energy of things. And I literally just did a video on that if you want to check that out, where you're sensing, okay, is it saying, okay, yes, it accepts you, or does it say, because really it chooses you, you never choose it. And mine was very difficult to find because there's not many black tourmaline with hematite attached onto it. Especially the kind of hematite that I'm talking about is reddish. And then also it had a bit of quartz in it, which, you know, I'm not surprised about, really. But what I'm trying to say is, there's not many of those just floating around out there. It's rare. It's not like rose quartz that's everywhere. And so I thought, you know, even if I do find the right thing, the odds that something is going to actually say yes is going to be slim to none. Because again, remember, it's the individual stone. that you're looking at. With this, it can't, just the regular energy, it's not enough. Just the regular energy is not enough for it to actually be your power stone. It has to be an individual stone that has sought you out like that. And so I was sitting here, I was feeling a tug, a pull of something for a while, and I couldn't find it. And it was just like, okay, I know it's out there somewhere, but I can't find. So I had to use magic. I had to be guided, and then I had to ask for permission and see what the answer was. You know, it's something that you're not going to know if it really is your power stone unless you know how to do that. And so, whilst you might get lucky, I know somebody actually just recently got exceptionally lucky. She knows nothing. And she came to me for a commission and said, you know, this might be interesting as a necklace. Can you make this into a necklace? And I said, do you know what you've stumbled upon? Because I could tell it was her power stone. She had no fucking clue. And a lot of times that just happens. You just stumble upon things, you're guided, you don't know. But to assume is not good. To assume you've got something right, it's never going to harmonize with you unless it truly is your power stone. She got fuck ass lucky. Okay? And the reason why she got lucky, I think, is because no one would have been able to teach her all that. I think she's in a spot where no one would have been able to teach her that. And so her guardians, her spirit guardians, kind of took it upon themselves to puppet her to the right place. But most of the time you don't get that lucky. Most of the time you need to learn how to sense things. So all in all, yes, it's basically a talisman. But I prefer the term power stone. I really do. Because what it does, it helps you, really, if it's buried, resurrect that side of you, that power in you that may be hidden. Your power, not its power, your own power. It helps unearth that to its full potential. So whether your magic is way too out of control and you can't stop it from happening, or whether you can't get it to happen in the beginning, it will balance everything, and it will, again, bring you to your full potential when you need it most. There are a lot of stones that we can just wear to wear, protection, healing, etc. And they're not power stones. Again, very important, has to be an exact kindred spirit to your own. And it has to choose you. Otherwise, you're not going to ever get that harmony. You're not ever going to get that magic out of it. You might get healing magic, you might get protection magic, you might get all this other magic, but you're not going to get the magic that a power stone provides. So yeah, a lot of stones could agree to work with you, just like anything else. But does that mean it's the power stone? No. Sometimes people actually get dreams of it before it happens. It's odd. It's one of those things where sometimes you even get a premonition. I mean, it's that big of a deal in paganism when you finally find a power stone that's meant for you. So when you finally find it, eventually you're going to know whether or not it's the right one, judging by how it responds and what it does. Typically happens during a rebirthing phase in your life, where it's the end of one part of your life and the beginning of another. It usually never comes at a time that's pretty, but it comes when you need it most.